Next up, we welcome to the stage an impressive group of individuals dedicated to advancing innovation through a panel sharing called Business Partnerships to Advance the Innovation Economy Ecosystem Building. I do not write these words. Facilitating this panel discussion is Josh Ewen, a certified economic developer and International Economic Development Council member. Since 2022, Josh has served as a Vice President of Economic Development for the Economic Development Corporation of Sarasota County. He leads a team focused on attracting, growing, and diversifying businesses throughout Sarasota County. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Josh Ewen, who will introduce his colleague. Josh?
Well, thank you, Michael, and good afternoon. Appreciate all of your attendance today and look forward to the opportunity to showcase some of the work that the Economic Development Corporation of Sarasota County is doing on your behalf in association with our business partners, education partners, and community stakeholders. Thank you to the Patterson Foundation for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity to showcase some of this work. So thank you, Michael, for the introduction. Really excited today. Joshua Ewen, I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for the Economic Development Corporation. We are a public-private partnership that is in contract with the Sarasota County government and all the incorporated cities of Sarasota County, including Sarasota, Longboat Key, Venice, and Northport. And our mission as an organization is to diversify and grow Sarasota County, creating high-wage and high-impact opportunities for our community and our residents. So joining me today, I'd like to introduce Vlad Ljesevic. He's the co-founder and managing partner of Compose, as well co-founder of Sarasota.tech. Vlad is a dynamic leader and an innovator with experience across various industries. He is the co-founder and managing partner of Compose, a technology consulting and software development firm which guides companies through their digital evolution and delivers innovative solutions for them. Outside of Compose, he co-founded Sarasota.tech, a nonprofit that is on a mission to connect the dots within the local tech ecosystem. Vlad and his wife, Ashley, are Sarasota residents and are great in our community. So thank you, Vlad, for being here. And then I also have the esteemed privilege to introduce Paul Sohl. Paul Sohl is the Chief Executive Officer of the Florida High-Tech Corridor. The Florida High-Tech Corridor is an organization serving the 23-county region, anchored by 3 of the country's largest research institutions, including the University of Central Florida, the University of South Florida, and the University of Florida. The corridor's mission is to converge and catalyze the capacity of high-tech innovation and bright minds to generate the ripple effect that advances the lives of people in the community it serves. As CEO, Paul facilitates connection and collaboration between the 3 universities, their partners in academia, industry, and economic development partnerships. This includes its Cornerstone Matching Grants Program, which since its inception in 1996 has generated over $1 billion in verified downstream impacts, as well as the corridor works with Senfluence, a clustering initiative in partnership with the governments of Orange County, Seminole County, the City of Orlando, Duke Energy, STEM Outreach, and the Small Business Innovation Research SBIR facilitation. Sohl joined the corridor in June of 2022, following more than 3 decades of service in the U.S. Navy. Thank you for your service, Paul. So both Vlad and Paul will join me in a minute, but what I'd like to do is run us through a little bit about the EDC and our target industries, and then kind of walk through what we're seeing in terms of trends nationally, statewide, as well as within our region. So for the EDC, these are our focus industries. These targeted industries are alignment with the County Board of Commissioners as well as our interlocal partners. They're also in alignment with what the state of Florida is focusing on for industry development. And really what this means to us as a community is that we're focusing on high wage, high growth, high opportunity industries that will create lasting impacts for not only this generation of workforce, but also our future generation of workforce. And really think about these as jobs of the future. So in Sarasota County, much like Southwest Florida and parts of Tampa Bay, what we're typically used to in terms of our current industry makeup and those that lead our labor force are those in tourism, construction, real estate, and healthcare as our current top industry. So for us as the Economic Development Corporation, we really want to diversify these opportunities to make us more resilient should there be impacts by natural disaster, red tide, downturns in the economy that affect certain industries. We want to have these other industries that aren't as reliant on local commerce, and they're more of a national, international level industry sector that are less reliant on local development. So just as an example, I believe there was a little talk about how AI impacts Sarasota County. And I made a note to myself to just talk about a group here locally. DMSI Manufacturing is a local manufacturer that's in expansion mode in direct response to what's happening in the AI international market. So what they do is they custom manufacture fiber optic cabling and end terminal products for data centers in the AI and Department of Defense industries. And so they've seen tremendous growth as a company based here in Venice, and they are looking to grow and expand with a major corporate headquarters expansion. And so we're really excited to see their growth, just as an example. So taking it to national, what's happening on the national stage? We heard a lot about AI and what's happening in terms of skill readiness and adaptive workforce to be able to be ready for those future skills. And so this will capture two areas of focus. One is that the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that it'll be 6.7 million new jobs created nationally by 2033. And then as you look over the next 3 years, the possibility for creating technology jobs, which can all be done here in Florida, Tampa Bay, Sarasota County, and this service region, really are highlighted with data analytics, AI, and engineering almost at 200 to 300% growth nationally. And we'll see similar trends in those industry and occupation types right here in Florida. So we're no stranger to seeing that there's been significant changes in our community over the last 5 years. The COVID-19 pandemic and resulting national level migration of talent and workforce and residents, we've really seen that in our community. And so for us as the Economic Development Corporation, we're focused on how does that workforce translate to business development and business growth. So between 2020 and 2025, we've added 50,000 new residents to Sarasota County. From the positive perspective of workforce and talent attraction, we have become the #1 community nationally for net college educated workforce gains, leading the national stage. We've added 5,000 new businesses, and we have been able to really link talent to local employers. And so you'll see there's a few bullet points, but what we saw is that companies and talent were doing the flight to quality. They want to live in the best opportunity that provides the most access to the quality of life that not only employees want, but families want. And so Sarasota County has been a big benefactor, as well as the state of Florida. We've seen a significant increase in college educated workforce. We're also seeing a decentralization of the innovation economy. Innovation, technology, as you'll hear from our panelists today, can be well done here in Florida. Exceedingly a high level of innovation and economic opportunity for us as a region. So we're definitely on the national stage when it comes to what's happening in the Tampa Bay market. And then looking at our workforce, about 26% of our workforce here in Sarasota County is work from anywhere capacity. So they're working from their homes. What that means is that we've just upskilled our existing talent pool. And as employers, such as Vlad, grow here, we have an opportunity to link them with the talent that is now in our backyard. This is a quick snapshot of industry growth in the state of Florida with our partners, the Florida Commerce, who is the state economic development organization in state government. What you'll see is top industry growth through 2033 with professional and technical services, information, and a variety of digital skills requirement type jobs leading the pack in terms of job growth. And then when we look at our digital skills labor force, what we find is that the tech employment for the state of Florida is in the top 5, with Florida having almost 500,000 jobs in information systems and technology. And we've seen the best quality growth in these tech industry and information systems jobs with nearly 14,000 new jobs over the last year in the technology sector. And then this is a comparison looking at how Florida stacks up from a digital skills perspective with the national stage. And we're generally, when it comes to requiring digital skills jobs to meet the labor and business needs of our business population in the state of Florida, about 90% of all jobs require some level of digital skills. And then we wanted to bring it down to the hyper-local level. What does the outlook look like for our labor force and that future workforce we're talking about skilling out of the K-12 and higher education systems mean in Sarasota County? And so what we think about in terms of growth is when we're focusing on those targeted industry companies, we really want to focus on ones that will create high wage and high growth opportunities that match our cost of living. We know that Southwest Florida, the Tampa Bay region, is becoming much more expensive to live and reside here, so we want to be able to match our jobs that are being created with the overall cost of living. What we're excited about is the growth in professional, scientific, and technical skills, which are a digital skill requirement. And then just as an example, if you're familiar, Mote Marine Laboratory and Research Center, they are growing and they are expanding their technology transfer program. And so that's one of our initiatives at the EDC, is to focus on embracing that level of technology. Just as an example, they have an AI lab that is focused on sensor development, and they've had initial conversations with NVIDIA and Taiwan Semiconductor about growing that lab and that partnership with both of those organizations. So just thinking about the potential for Mote Marine to grow and scale here as they have more tech transfer and research development creates opportunities for our regional workforce that will require additional digital skills. And then looking at what sets Sarasota County apart, our best bets are outlined in a report from the Florida Council of 100, which is 100 of the larger private organizations within the state of Florida, and they put out a best bets report. And for Sarasota County, what that means to us is that we continue to focus on IT and technology development clusters, distribution, logistics, finance and insurance, as well as health services, biopharma, and medtech. All those industries require a high level of digital skills, awareness, and training. Looking at our partnerships and how we grow those targeted industries, one of the areas that we've been able to do this, and really thank Vlad and his partners, is through Sarasota.tech. Sarasota.tech is a nonprofit that focuses on connecting technology innovators and talent, as well as future skilled workforce, to create a level of awareness and ecosystem building here in Sarasota County. The EDC has been a partner to that as a sponsor. We're really excited for the growth. And just as an example, back in January, we held with the Sarasota.tech, the first tech summit, which attracted 325 individuals from the greater Tampa Bay region and the state of Florida right here to Sarasota. And Vlad will be able to tell you a little bit more about Sarasota.tech, but they have about 800 on their distribution list for monthly meetups. So it just shows that there is an amount of volume of people here that are working in these industries, and it seems to be growing leaps and bounds every day. Additionally, last item just to point out is that we have a marketing initiative called Create SRQ. And so for us, we're the marketing agency for business. Just like Visit Sarasota County or your local tourism agency would be marketing for tourists, we're marketing to businesses, trying to attract that level of investment into Sarasota County. So we created this brand to attract entrepreneurs and talent to come fill some of our workforce. All right, Paul, I'd like to go to you first. You and your team collaborate a lot across private industry, economic development, as well as education and university partners. What is your take on where we are today with the innovation economy in Florida? And then what jumps out as bright spots that can have a transformative shift on the state as a whole?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. And thanks for the invite to come down. Thanks for the foundation to fund this thing. I think these meetups and this kind of thing is tremendously important. The other thing I've always found advantageous is to follow Daesh Begley when she does her speech, because I have to match that energy, Daesh. I just do, so I'll try. We'll see how it goes. And in all seriousness, one of the things I think is special is Sarasota, and I'm not just saying that just because. I get 23 counties. I have the blessing of being able to go all the way from here all the way to the Space Coast. So I get a chance to go to Sarasota Tech in that event, and to see some of the ideas that are out there and that are happening. And it's not just in technology. With our students, we need the creatives, we need the musicians, we need the philosophers. Yeah, we need the math and science, and I get it. But it's what we do with those groups and get those ideas flowing that I think are huge. Perhaps an easy, quick answer to that, Josh, because I want to hear from the audience as well. One of the things that's unique about Florida, I believe, is the convergence of a bunch of different technologies and a bunch of different things. I mean, you just heard, here you've got a maritime center that's hooked on and focused on AI. Tremendous. Because that's the way things are going. And so we need our students to be exposed to that. And you'll hear me talk a lot about students because from a workforce perspective, that's what he needs. I work for Vlad. We support guys and gals like him to be able to create those businesses and grow those businesses. So that's what I would say is an opening.
Well, thank you, Paul. Really appreciate you being here as well. Vlad, so you're a Sarasota-based tech founder and community leader in the innovation ecosystem. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to grow here.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. That community support and the local support, I think, is one of the main reasons why I'm here and why I'm so bullish on Sarasota and Florida in general. I was telling Paul and Michael before this panel that when I moved here 6.5 years ago with my wife, the plan was to get here, to take care of business, and to pack our stuff and move back up north 12 to 18 months later, and obviously 6.5 years later, and I don't think we've looked back since once, nor even thought about moving back. I feel very privileged to be able to live here. I think we have an amazing community that is growing, that is strong, and that is extremely supportive of entrepreneurs, business, really any initiative that has good intentions. And so yeah, I don't think that, I think why Sarasota is probably the biggest trick question. I think the more difficult question is why not Sarasota? So beyond the community, I think there's tons of business opportunities here. Obviously we're a smaller market, we're not a metropolitan market like in Miami or in New York City or Los Angeles. So I actually think that from a business perspective, that creates more opportunities for people that are willing to go after them. And then, all of the obvious things like our beaches, our arts and culture scene, restaurants, bars, all the reasons why we get all the tourists each and every year.
Yeah, definitely. I think quality of life is our biggest attribute that we have as a community. I mean, and then you pair that with, top-notch K-12 education being usually number one between us and St. Johns County in the state of Florida with Sarasota County schools. And just, I think there's a pro-business environment, and that's why we saw 5,000 new businesses grow over the last 5 years. So, congratulations on your growth and all that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about Sarasota.tech. I know this has been a huge initiative, and we're really excited to root you on. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what your hope is for the future. Yeah,
well, it's a big initiative now. It started with myself and 3 buddies and the first meetup of 10 people in my office about 18 months ago. And the idea was to capture the influx of tech talents that was relocating to not just Sarasota, but all of Florida, coming from California, New York, all the innovation and technology hubs that we have here in the US. And to create a space where they can collaborate, where they can collide, where they can exchange ideas, where they can help each other, where they can support each other, and really to start building that community. Because quite frankly, when I first moved here 6.5 years ago, I didn't feel like there was a tech community here. I know there were individual tech companies that, some exited, some did really well, but there wasn't a central point where you knew, okay, I'm gonna go to this event, or I'm gonna go into this space, and I know I'm gonna meet at least 4 other people like myself that are in the space. So started with the first meetup of 10 people, and now 18 months later, we have, I think, over 900 people on our list. We average 150 attendees at our monthly meetups. We hosted a first conference type event earlier this year in January, where we had people even come in from Tampa, St. Petersburg, Orlando, and even Miami. And it's just awesome to not to see the growth is obviously exciting, especially for someone like myself who lives here and is trying to build a business here. But I think it's exciting for all of Sarasota because that is our future. Those young people that we were able to attract during COVID, we want them to stay. And not only do we want them to stay, we also want to make sure that all the young talented kids that are going, that we're pushing through school here, that they have a reason to stay here as well.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I know that our latest talk is with the potential 2026 year coming up, looking at doing another Sarasota Tech Summit. And we'd love to support you as well. But also working a lot with the higher education and universities, trying to get those kids involved. Yeah,
we haven't been. We didn't last year as much as we would like. Last year was all about, getting to a point where we have critical mass. I'm pretty sure we have critical mass now. And yes, one of the things that I'm most excited about this year is getting the schools involved, exposing our kids to the businesses that are out there, the entrepreneurs that are out there, and all the possibilities and opportunities. Because I think the one thing we're doing a terrible job at here in Sarasota is telling the story. And I think we got to start telling the story of what's really going on here, so they can hear it and so they can see it, and so they can picture themselves here 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, in a successful career.
Yeah, well, definitely appreciate that. And we look forward to partnering with you on telling that story much more. And I think there's a lot of great things that are happening in our communities across the region. And it's up to us as a community to tell those stories a little bit better. So Paul, I'd like to go back to you. What emerging high-tech industries do you see having the most potential growth over in Florida, even Sarasota County, over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so let me start by referencing a couple things that Vlad said. One is community. That, to me, when we talk about the high-tech corridor, that word technology can be very off-putting, because people say, a young kid will say, I'm not a tech person, or I'm not a math person. Tech for tech's sake doesn't mean a hill of beans, unless it's helping the communities. So what Vlad talked about in building community, I think, is tremendously important. The other thing that I heard from Sarasota Tech was the idea that we want to be Sarasota. They didn't say we want to be the next Silicon Valley, we want to be the next New York or anything like that. You want to build on those strengths. So that goes to your point of what tech is out there. I'll go back to what I said earlier. Everything from fintech, AI, blockchain, space, aerospace, logistics, something as unsexy as logistics is huge. And where we're going with technology in that world. And that convergence, and I think it's just a matter of you all making a decision. Hey, what do we want to do? Where do we want to be? So that you have those communities and then go from there. The beautiful thing about the 23 counties, and I got some really great early advice from a CEO of a group called Launch Tennessee, which was in charge of the entire state of Tennessee in 8 cities and 8 ecosystems. And she said, Paul, whatever you do, don't put the 23 counties in a blender, turn it on, and say, look, you're all the corridor now. That ain't how it works. You're part of the corridor, but you have your individual vision, your individual personality, your individual educators that makes you special. And I walked away from Sarasota Tech with, wow, this is going places, which I think is great. And you will see that across the state of Florida. Everything from space launch to what's going on in Miami, to what's going on in Gainesville, to the Panhandle, DOD, kind of across the board. It can be a little bit tough because it can drive you a little bit schizophrenic on all the different things that you can do. But that's one of the huge advantages, I think, of Florida. And then to tell the story. That is the hardest thing to do. And that is the thing you got to focus on, is tell the story. Orlando just ain't tourism. There's all kinds of stuff. It's just not the beaches. It's just not no tax. There's all kinds of things that are happening here.
So Vlad, what do you see for Sarasota County over the next 5 to 10 years?
First of all, I just want to touch on one thing that Paul said. You touched on the fact that there's seemingly such a high barrier to entry when it comes to technology, and I'll argue that technology maybe has one of the lowest barriers to entry for any career path. Because you don't have to be a software engineer in order to work in tech. I'm not a software engineer. I went to law school. I got a degree in law and finance. I'm very much self-taught when it comes to anything tech. So there's jobs like project management, account management, business analyst. I mean, there's so many different roles within tech that don't include engineering. And I think it's important to start highlighting those as well, because those are also high-paying jobs in tech. And then also, you don't have to be a tech company in order to have a tech job. Everybody says every business needs to become a tech business in order to stay relevant. So you have all these businesses that are non-tech but are, in some way, shape, or form becoming tech-enabled because they need to in order to stay relevant and keep growing the way that they need to keep growing. Which, to your point, what are some of the sectors? There's many sectors, I think, in Sarasota that, are doing a really good job with tech. We are working with, local manufacturing companies that, have IoT devices that we're developing, AI co-pilots for. We are working with, real estate companies in the, short-term vacation rental space that are trying to become tech-enabled so that they can, improve homeowner experiences and create new revenue streams. And we're also working with insurance companies. I mean, you pick any industry, even nonprofit organizations, you pick any industry, and there is a need for technology and innovation.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too, Vlad, because when I think about digital skills and technology and the related industries that technology and information serves across the entire economy, you really think about what we heard today, and it's really economic mobility. And I think having digital skills and having a role in the technology or information sector really provides the best potential economic mobility for someone who's gaining those type of skills. And it's really, I think, in terms when it comes to those higher wage head of household jobs, I think at Sarasota County we have a great opportunity where we heard from Dish and all of our partners talking about economic mobility. I think as we focus more on that, it gets us a leg up when it comes to propelling our economy to the next generation.
And I'll add, I think it's a business imperative. You saw the arrows of folks coming to Florida. That's still not enough. You have to take advantage of all the people that are here. You just have to. You can't eliminate some group because they don't say, I think a lot, the example I give you is like First Lego League. Be involved in First Lego League. You should. I got invited to First Lego League. You watch these kids do, that's the future of robotics right there. And also teaming and leadership. Those kinds of things are tremendously important.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we have about 5 minutes left. I know we want to take some questions from the audience. I'd be glad to have your questions and look forward to the opportunity to tell a little bit more.
Thank you for being here. My question's for Paul. So there's 67 counties in the state of Florida. So you've chosen 23, and I'd kind of like to know your criteria for that, and if you're looking to expand, because I just quickly went to your website so I could ask an intelligent question. I'm curious on what some of those counties are, and they're not some of the ones that I would have thought.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in your criteria, and if you're looking at expanding throughout the rest of the state.
It's a great question. So first of all, when it was created 30 years ago, I was early in my Navy career flying F-18. So the criteria that they put together, honestly, it was I-4. Really, the president, John Hitt at UCF, the former president of USF, and some state legislatures got here and said, we know of at least 2 tech businesses that are going to move to Europe if we don't do something. And so they said, tell you what, let's just call it and it used to be called the I-4 corridor. And we'll pick up UCF, USF, we'll pick up Alachua County and UF, and those are the counties. About a year into this job, I thought about expanding. And then I quickly said, nope, I'm not doing it. Because, number one, I don't want to turn into a state agency. That's the last thing. I think the corridor has its own personality of those counties. One of the things I think that makes the corridor wonderful is we have some of the most high-tech counties and some of the most rural counties. And some of those rural counties now, with SBA grants and things, we're getting into them, and we're walking with them on their journey so that they can get involved in semiconductors and other things to be able to power that. The other thing I would say is why wouldn't I want to expand? There are amazing corridors in Florida. Look at Miami, Fort Lauderdale. There's this really FAU, FIU kind of corridor that's happening. Jacksonville across to UF. I use the universities as a little bit of anchor points because that's kind of how it works. Then scoot out to UWF in Pensacola. There are some amazing corridors. And so what I believe the vision of Florida would be, we're connecting networks of networks to be able to connect these groups. That's what I do on a daily basis, is how do I get this wonderful group aware of what's going on elsewhere, not force the connection, but just say, one of my favorite authors, Brene Brown, she'll just tell you, just be a little more curious every day. And that's what I want. If you're a little more curious, you will sit back and go, holy smokes, look what's going on. So that's how it came. It was I-4, literally.
When you said you went from a small membership to all the way up to 800 or 900, you know, what attracted everyone so quickly? Was it just there really wasn't anything like that around, or it really is just finding the people that want to be together?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of it was timing, right? This is after COVID, after all these people have moved here. And one thing about people in technology is that they're very particular when it comes to the people that they like to surround themselves with, especially, engineers. They're a little bit like artists. And so the different groups that, we have in Sarasota, the EDCs and the chambers and, the real estate groups and the wealth advisor groups, those are all great for business, but I don't think that they really fit the profile for, what techies are looking for. And so the way we approached it was, and this was literally from events to event, we always asked everyone, bring one cool friend that's in tech to the event. And that's how we took it from 10 to 25 to 35 to 50. And then I think our first big event was last February at the Aloft Hotel, and we checked in, I want to say like 170 people. And it just snowballed. I think the word spread. We got a lot of support from the EDC and the local community. And if you continuously go to an event where you meet cool people that are like-minded, you're gonna keep coming back and you're gonna keep bringing friends. And so that was the approach.
Anything else? Last question?
Real quick, Vlad, I'm still waiting for that invitation as bring the cool person. I missed that one. Are you able to either find or recruit the talent you need to expand here in Sarasota?
Yes, definitely. But I'll also say that, we're still small. I mean, we're 3 years into the business now. We're growing at a good pace. But I'm not looking for, 100 people in the next 6 months. I do think that the cool thing about Sarasota and the cool thing for, an entrepreneur starting a business here is that we have an ocean of highly experienced senior level executives, but we have a very small pool of entry level talent. And I think there's many reasons for it. Again, I think one of the reasons is we don't tell a good enough story of what's actually happening here. I think another reason is that, there's an affordability issue. It's difficult for people to, make like true entry level salaries, but live in Sarasota and like have, good quality life. And so I think with that also comes a mindset shift, right? Like we need to forget about the salaries that, people are getting paid here 6, 7, 8 years ago. Like those are way gone. People have access to remote jobs now that pay, good salaries, that don't require them to go into the office with, crazy benefits. And if we want to compete and if we want to be able to attract the best talent and keep that talent here, then we need to bump it up. And so, again, it's going to take a village, but we're seeing small progress already. And, USF and New College and SCF and even some of the high schools here have some really, really cool programs that produces some amazing talent.
Well,
Hi, this question is for Vladimir. Thinking about the pipeline and the talent that you want to hire in the entry level and getting kids maybe that are going into college excited about these jobs with your Sarasota Tech event. Do you have opportunities for those students maybe to participate or come and see or connect with mentors or people that look like them that will encourage them to get into these careers? Are there any opportunities for that?
Yeah, it's been open invite all the way. We need to be a little more proactive about inviting those kids in because I think it's pretty intimidating, for a student to walk into big networking group of investors, entrepreneurs, and executives and tech employees. And that is one of our big objectives this year, is to get involved in the schools, proactively invite students to come show up, and then get to a point where we can start working on that matchmaking, right? To pair them up with mentors, to pair them up with potential businesses for internships, to open houses at local businesses, and just get more and more involved. So I think our next event is next Wednesday, but I think the April event we will host at New College of Florida, and then I believe we have one at STF as well coming up this year. In August, there you go. So hopefully in hosting our events on campus, it'll slightly lower that barrier, and make it more approachable and accessible for the kids. But yes, that's something I'm personally very passionate about, and so we'll make it our mission.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody.